Chapter 2. The hunt goes wrong. As the hunters crept through the dark forest, the air grew thick and misty. Strange sounds echoed around them, whispers in the wind, branches creaking like old bones. Kofi led the group, his eyes shining with excitement. "We're going to catch that deer and become heroes," he whispered. His friend Kwame, a short man with a big smile, tried to joke. "Maybe we can use its golden horns to make shiny toothpicks." Some hunters giggled nervously. Suddenly, they heard a twig snap. Everyone froze. There, in a moonlit clearing, stood the magical deer. It was even more beautiful up close. Its coat sparkled like diamonds, and its golden horns seemed to glow from within. Kofi raised his spear, ready to throw. But as he did, the deer turned and looked right at him. Its eyes were deep and wise, filled with sadness. For a moment, Kofi hesitated. He remembered Mama Moesha's warning. But then his pride took over. He threw the spear with all his might. Just as the spear was about to hit, the deer vanished into thin air. The spear stuck in a tree, quivering. "What?" Kofi gasped. "Where did it go?" Suddenly, the forest came alive. Trees began to move, their branches reaching out like arms. Roots burst from the ground, tripping the hunters. The wind howled like an angry spirit. "Run!" Kwame yelled, his jokes forgotten. But as they turned to flee, they found their path blocked by a wall of thorny vines that hadn't been there before. The hunters were trapped. They huddled together, scared and confused. Then, from the shadows, stepped a figure. It was tall and majestic, with the body of a man but the head of a deer. Golden horns curved from its head. This was the spirit of the forest. His voice boomed like thunder. "Foolish humans, you were warned not to disturb the balance of the forest. Now you must face the consequences." The spirit raised its arms, and the ground began to shake. The hunters fell down, yelling in fear. Kofi tried to be brave. He stood up on shaky legs and faced the spirit. We're sorry," he stammered. "We didn't mean any harm." The spirit's eyes flashed with anger. "Sorry is not enough. You must learn respect for nature and its creatures." With a wave of its hand, the spirit cast a spell. The hunters felt a strange tingling all over their bodies. They watched in horror as fur began to grow on their skin. Their hands turned into hooves. Antlers sprouted from their heads. In moments, where the hunters had stood, there was now a herd of deer. Kofi, now a large buck with golden horns, tried to speak, but only a deer's bleat came out. The spirit nodded. "For one moon cycle, you will live as deer. You will know the fear of being hunted. You will learn to live in harmony with the forest. Only then may you return to your human forms." With that, the spirit vanished. The transformed hunters looked at each other in shock. Kwame, now a small deer with a funny tuft of fur on his head, made a sound that might have been a laugh if deer could laugh. Back in the village, people were getting worried. The hunters had been gone all night. As dawn broke, Amma and Chief Kweku led a search party into the forest. They found the hunters' weapons scattered on the ground, but no sign of the men. Instead, they saw a group of deer watching them from the trees. The deer seemed to be trying to communicate, making strange movements and sounds. Amma looked closely at one deer with golden horns. Its eyes seemed familiar. "Kofi?" she gasped. "Is that you?" The deer nodded vigorously. Chief Kweku's eyes widened. By the ancestors, the warning was true. The spirit has transformed them. The village was in an uproar. How would they survive without their best hunters? And how could they protect these men-turned deer from other hunters who might come to the forest? As they debated what to do, Kofi the deer stepped forward. Using his hoof, he scratched a message in the dirt. "We must learn." Amma nodded, understanding. "Yes, you must learn the lesson the spirit wants to teach you. And we must learn too. We've taken the forest for granted for too long." As the transformed hunters were led back to the village, watched over carefully by their worried families, everyone wondered, what would the next month bring? And would the hunters ever be human again? Little did they know, their adventures were far from over. The forest had more lessons to teach, and the spirit was not done with them yet.